You know what I mean? Some people don't. Some people don't. But eventually, not everybody can not everybody can be a genius. Not that I'm a fucking genius, trust me. But what I do know how to do is I definitely know how to play and I know how to make hype. Hype is all about Hype is the whole fucking thing. I mean, have a look at the way that Books, Buck, and Shibo move. It's all about creating hype. I mean, these waffles, I think the main reason why they're so successful is because I guess, there's a little bit of fun element to them. There's a little bit of team growing element to them. There's a little bit of um, community building element to them, and if you can take that and have fun with it at the same time, that creates for something that is pretty much unstoppable. And I think going forward, you know, the waffles won't just be for dogs. They'll be for other assets soon. Soon it'll be fucking, real life. We're starting to do skateboards with Temple Pharmacy. We're doing some, all these sorts of things. Imagine now later on down the track we do Buck Media hoodies or we do giveaways for that kind of stuff. I think people would really, really want to be involved in that kind of thing. And I mean, we're not looking at doing, I'm not thinking of doing like a one soul one every single time we do it because obviously that's just insane. This was just, I thought let's see what we can really do and do one really, really big one, see how it goes. And then maybe we can do it every couple of months. Fuck, it might be a 6 month thing. Who knows? And then that just gives us that pressure again to go back to the floor, buy up more, do some more things, invest in more things and keep moving forward. So, I appreciate everybody who's been getting involved because it's all you guys that make it happen at the end of the day. As much as the Dow fucking puts in and I come to spaces and we push and blah 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 blah. It's all you guys that come here, come together and fucking put in to make it happen. So turn around and give yourselves a pat on the back because you all have been doing extremely extremely well. We're at 81 soul, guys. We're at 81 soul. So you know that's a lot. I haven't even really been pushing it today, so I've noticed that. I know when I slow down, it slows down. Um,
It's
but
still
we've got a
going.
couple of things coming.
Fountain put in
Yeah,
for Jordan.
who put in?
Fountain put in point one for Jordan.
I'm mad. See, there you go. I don't even fucking know because I can't even check the wallet to see if anything's happened to it. So, you know, but we're here. We're here. We're gonna roll into fucking Tengu's space. I think what's Tengu soon, or is
It's
he
I think he already started it. I pinned it up to the top.
mad?
So should we just call it a wrap and head over there?
Why not? Why not?
Uh,
And then we
He
start
didn't
to.
start it yet, no?
let's see.
Oh no.
No, he didn't start it yet. He's probably getting ready.
Oh, he is.
Okay. He's getting ready.
He
Oh,
started.
he started. Okay, so yeah, that's why Nantez and Barty left. They got to get in their co-host spots. But yeah, man, if you guys haven't got into the waffle, make sure you get into the waffle. And do that. I actually have it. It's like should be the second post pinned up to the top. If not, you can go to Sam's timeline and get involved with the waffle. It's the waffle to end all waffles. They're actually giving away mini doginal dogs, not just doginal dogs, but grails. Some of the finest doginal dogs in the collection. Entry is one soul for asset that's worth over $1,000, and because they're grails, they're actually a couple of $1,000, is the come up of a lifetime of the century. So get
Some of them are about 4 grand, bro. 4 grand, 5 grand. That fucking purple Jordan dog, and the old Mav dog. They were fucking sitting up there for 3.5 to $4,500. Like, there's some fucking mega dogs up there. My dog's up there. Yeah, my dog cost me $4,500. Like, it's insane what's about to happen that somebody could win one of these dogs for one
which
soul.
one was
It's crazy.
Mavs?
The little one with the one that's like purple and it's got the back. It's got the brown with the ears down with the visors.
Oh, it's the rainbow visors with the black and brown coat. Oh my.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That one. Yeah, that was the old Mav dog. So
That one, yeah, well, I saw that one right away
yeah.
because it had rainbow visors. Because the rainbow visors are visors are kind of rare, but rainbow visors are like extremely rare.
Bro, that Lakers dog was crazy, bro.
They all look good.
Yep. It's insane.
No,
And then
no,
wait till we got the web dog, yeah? If you know the web dog,
yeah,
fucking, I
dude.
think every motherfucker wants that.
Oh yeah.
No, nobody want. It's just me. I'm gonna win that bit.
Everybody wants it.
I'm gonna
It's
win it.
one of the top 5 dogs in the collection.
Manifesting, manifesting the win right now. So, GG, guys.
All right, cool. And then yeah, if you win that one, what are you gonna do? You're just gonna keep two?
No, no, I already told everyone if I manage to win that dog, I'm giving this one away for free.
That's
No cap.
that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing, and that just shows you how we get down in this community. We support each other. We share the love, and we support one another, and that's what this waffle is all about. Yeah, it's the second tweet up on the jumbotron. The address is up there. One soul gets you an entry in to win a inscription on the Dogecoin blockchain that's ultimately worth a few $1,000s. So again, one soul, a couple $100 or less for a few $1,000s in value is the come up of a century. So if you're so inclined, tap in with that second tweet. In fact, you know what? I'm just going to go to it and I'm just going to pin it up to the top one last time so that everybody can see it. That is the post with the address. So if you want to get involved with this, it's not just Doginal dogs. Sam's giving away Temple Pharmacy NFTs, Louis Vuitton sneakers, a pair of Jordans, and yeah, there would be several dogs that are worth a few $1,000s. So, for one sole entry, that you can't beat that. If you win, it's going to be the come up of the century. If you don't win, you're supporting a community member and you're helping the community, you're contributing to the community. And yeah, like Sam was saying, if you can't bring down a huge giant Bark Media deal, you can at least contribute to the community. You can bring this deal together for so many people because if somebody wins this, when they win their Doginal dog, that's going to be a life changing moment for them. That's going to be a game changer. And you made that happen by entering in to this waffle. So definitely try to take a look at that, consider it because it's going to be closing this Friday, I believe. So there's only a few days left before the entries are done, and you're gonna miss out.
Hey, I'll be
Uh,
honest. I'll be honest. In the next couple of days, I'm going to announce that there's only 30 spots left. It'll be in a post. It's about to happen. So you better rush now because I'm going to close it. And it's going to put the pressure on everybody because it's going to be the end. There'll be 30 slots left and then I'm going to close it. So, you know, it's either going to get every person that's already in the waffle to get another soul together and fucking finish it because they're going to be like, fuck, okay, now there's a chance to close it up. And my chances are going to get higher. And let's just say these last 30 slots, I might have a little surprise for anybody who's entering.
He's always up to something, this guy, Sam. Jesus Louise, bro. Love it.
so does that mean if it closes up early, that does that mean you're gonna do the waffle early, or is it still for Friday?
No, no, no. It'll still be for Friday. It'll still be for Friday.
Okay, and then is there a chance that it might be Monday?
Look, it depends. Let's just see after all these elections and blah blah blah, because you guys take this shit way too seriously. Um, you guys seem to stop your whole lives to worry about an election, about whether who's going to do what in the world, blah 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 blah. But yeah, look, we're too far away in this world in Australia to care about stuff like that. Like it affects us, but it doesn't. So like down here, we're like, if Trump wins, fantastic, it's great. If Kamala wins, not that great, but fuck her anyway because she's only going to be there for 4 years and she's going to do jack shit as per normal. Like, what do they really do? You know what I mean? Like, every fucking person who gets involved with this sort of like, I'm going to be the president never really ends up doing jack shit anyway. So, let's hope Trump gets in and does something because another couple of years with this bloke, fuck. At least he's gonna try and make something happen. You know what I mean? Kamala, she's just gonna sit there and do jack. She's gonna sit there and do jack. She's gonna do nothing. She's gonna play with herself. She's gonna make her money, and then she's gonna disappear. She'll be the first black woman president, and that's probably it.
Oh,
That's probably
bro,
all she's
it's
gonna do.
it's it's definitely bullish if Kamala is president because nothing changes, like you said. And if
See?
Trump gets in, dude, they're gonna have to pull. They're gonna cut so much shit out that is very
Hmm.
unpredictable, and people are gonna be scared about all that. So, yeah, you're definitely right about that. We shouldn't change our everyday decisions just off of an election. But it's just fun to talk about, Sam. Leave us alone, damn.
Hey, look, I don't mind you guys talking about it and stuff like that, but I don't know. Like we could have pumped the chart today. Like I was ready. I wanted to do it, but then fucking everybody was telling me relax, 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 relax. I was ready to send fucking pox. Fucking we were ready, man. I was chatting with the Dow. Fucking Terra was like, buy some, buy some, buy some. And then the boys were like, relax, relax, relax.
Yeah, they were kind of telling everybody that they're waiting for the market conditions, and I get it, but there still was there was some still support levels. I was actually watching the chart and talking about it in the beginning of the space, and it hit a support level, and it looked like it bottomed out about 20 million market cap, and it started bouncing back up to 21 million and hitting a little bit of resistance there and bouncing between 20 million and 21 million market cap. So at least it looks like the bottom is in. That's the good part. Hopefully, it's not going to go any
Mm.
further.
No, it's going. Trust me, it's going to 8 mil.
It's going to 8 million.
Yep, keep selling, guys. Keep selling, please.
I get it. Yeah, but that being said, yeah, let's all head over to Tengu's. But also, yeah, make sure to get on that waffle because again, it's an amazing opportunity to win something big or support a community member and help us grow our community and put dogs in the hands of the people who really deserve it, who really work hard. And it's also going to probably make Web3 history. Once people hear about what we're doing, they're going to be blown away because I don't think I've ever seen a giveaway like this. I mean, there's probably $10,000 worth of dogs. There's Louis Vuitton sneakers. There's Jordans. I mean, there, and not to mention the Temple Pharmacy NFTs. And as I mentioned before, you know, we set the standard and we set the trends in Web3 and crypto. I already saw another major NFT group try to copy this waffle, but they're calling it a lottery. But they're also doing it too. The Retardio cousins, I think I saw them. They're doing a lottery, and I'm sure they got inspired by all the stuff that Sam and Bam are doing because we're trendsetters. That's what we do. We create the blueprint here, and you're in the greatest community in the world in Web3 and on this platform, and this is a great way to contribute to it and help one another. I really appreciate all the time that everybody spent here. You guys have been with me for this last 4 hours. I love and respect all of you, and I thank you for spending your time with me because you could have been in any other space tonight, but you were here with me, and I appreciate that. So, that being said, we're going to all head over to Tango's. It's the second to last post up on the Jumbo, and I'm going to probably take a second to reset because it's been 4 hours hosting the space, but hopefully I'll make it in there. If not, I fell asleep. So I'll see you guys on the timeline. Have a great evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are in the world.
Doge is going to run. And of course, you know what else is connected with Doge, right? The Doginal dogs. So yeah, let's. I'm feeling very bullish, very very bullish. I wasn't expecting this from Doge, at least not like that, not pumping alone. Also, Sol, it's maintaining its floor like really really good. So who's rough? This guy is rough all the way to the end. Yeah. So yeah, feeling bullish, guys. Good morning, Tengu, Nantes, Walid, Doski. the boss here. I see Odu, JJ, Raf connecting, Sam. I'm gonna send you an invite right now. And everybody here in the listeners, let's drop some comments because again, 30 comments, guys. Like, do you like
Man,
us?
I'm so disappointed. So
Bro,
disappointed, bro.
do you like us telling you every day to drop those comments? Like, if motion comes in, we have 100 comments in 5 minutes, right? And then we're gonna reward motion. We're gonna give him a giveaway, and all of you guys will be like, "Yeah, but we're here every day." Yeah, but it takes like 2 minutes to drop a comment, even less. So let's push it.
Let's keep pushing. Appreciation to you also, Barney. Walid, GMGN, Big Dog. How are you doing? Good morning.
GM Tengo, Nantes, Barney, everyone here. I'm doing great, man. I'm looking forward for the action today, right before and after the election. So there's a lot of action happening. I've been in spaces since yesterday's space, I would say. I don't think I missed many spaces from yesterday. And every space have its own taste and own color, and it's beautiful, man. Really, really, really happy to be here and wish everyone a beautiful day.
Happy to have you here, Walid. Amazing friend of mine, also amazing member of the Dodgel Dogs. Yeah, spaces are nice. All eyes are on the US elections and a lot of news happening here in a country in Africa with the name of Equatorial Guinea. Is something that we will touch on really briefly. A lot of activities happening with cryptocurrency. We're going to dive into that. Also, a beautiful thread by Bright also we'll discuss about it too. Happy to have you here, but let's hear from more people. JJ, GMGN, how are you doing, JJ?
BMGN Tango, BMGN Dancers.
People will sometimes say that goat milk has a barnyard aftertaste, and it does, but that's just the taste of hay, which is way better than the taste of feces, so or the smell of feces. So I guess there's a variety of barnyard tastes out there.
So, but back to BIOS 3, they didn't have goats, they didn't have barnyards. When is this all happening? Is this like in the middle of the space race?
Yeah, so it's before, so 65 was the first one, so before we landed on the moon in 69.
Oh, wow.
And then they kept it going. So like I think BIOS 3 was in 1972. And then the Soviet Union started running out of money. And so they kind of stopped. But so for a while they were spending like 20% of their time just like sort of tinkering with the system. So it was very time intensive. And they never achieved complete closure. Like, for example, they weren't growing meat. They didn't have cows in there. But, quote, Siberians must have their meat. Was a quote I found in one of the papers. So they were like doing meat deliveries regularly. I actually talked to a guy who was born in Siberia, and I was like, oh, it's so funny. And he's like, you don't understand. In Siberia, you need meat to stay alive. And I'm like, I'm not sure that's scientifically sound, but I'm going to stop pushing you on the meat question.
Well, it's interesting if you're going for a closed loop system and then you're like importing meat and you're exporting human poop, it feels like you're not really close to a closed loop system. Are you still learning something because you're doing some closed loop stuff people haven't done before?
I think you're still learning something. So like you're getting a handle on how long it takes to maintain these systems and, maybe a little bit about the psychology of living in these systems, a little bit of information about food production. But so Biosphere 2, one of the exciting things about that was that their goal was nothing. No food comes in. And there were some rumors that maybe like liquor snuck in at some point. But like, the men lost 18% of their weight. The women lost 10. And so like they were sticking to it. But they had the benefit of being on the grid. So they didn't have to like worry about power or, like cleaning solar panels or anything like that. And they had these giant lungs that equilibrated the pressure. So like on warm days, like the air would expand and the lungs would sort of adjust to make sure that, like the panels didn't burst and break and fall in on them. So like they did a good job of closing things, but there were still things that they were able to, benefit from because they were on the earth.
And so do we have like a linear progression from the earliest efforts that are less closed loop to the later efforts that are more closed loop? Or are we like making progress or are we making progress, or is it sort of like a random assortment of, hey, let's try this, let's try that?
One of the most frustrating things about space settlement related research is that it does seem to be a grab bag of someone who's like, oh, I have the right knowledge set to answer this question, and I've got the right knowledge set to answer this question, and there's no like funding for like, this is the like stepwise path we're going to take to get to the answer. It's a bit more of a hodgepodge.
Yeah.
Lunar Palace is one of the more recent ones.
So what is Lunar Palace?
So that is a facility in China. The palace part is actually an acronym, the Permanent Astrobase Life Support Artificial Closed Ecosystem.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do they have an acronym generating facility within their experiment in case they need new acronyms so they don't have to import them from the outside?
I mean, they should. They should. And if there's a space race heating up between China and the US, we should at least worry about China's acronym game because they're rocking it.
Oh, really? Wow, they're winning the acronym race.
I mean, it's close. It's neck and neck.
All right, I want to hear about this amazing acronym facility, but first, let's take a quick break.
This is Jonathan Strickland from Tech Stuff. I've been getting into the holiday spirit by listening to a lot, and I mean a lot, engineer cradle to
your house and live us to make diet and you hear me flock, heed, roll how other
by 2050. That's we love. You know what that means. And we're hearing about early efforts to try to learn how to grow food on alien planets by practicing in closed environments here on Earth. And you were telling us about the Chinese Lunar Palace. So this is neither a palace nor is it on the moon, I'm guessing.
That's right. But it is preparing for settlements on the moon eventually.
Oh.
And in my mind, this is the most impressive closed loop system that's been set up so far. So Biosphere 2 was like huge, but it's so complicated that if something goes wrong, it's kind of hard to tinker with the system to figure out like what you would do differently if you were on Mars. So Lunar Palace started a little smaller. They had 2 wings where they were growing plants. And then they had an area where like humans could live, and there was a meeting space, and then they had a bathroom and a waste treatment area. So they were trying to like reuse the water from the urine. I think they were using the feces for fertilizer, but actually I'm forgetting if they did that for sure. But they did a great job at capturing the water that they breathed out, that they used for showers, that they urinated. And I think eventually they made it to 100% like water recycling.
Kind of like they do in Dune, that other documentary.
Oh, there's so many space documentaries. Yeah, so impressive. I watched the more recent version of that documentary just the other day.
And for anybody out there who's not getting the joke, obviously Dune is not a documentary. Don't write us emails about how Dune is actually fiction. But you're saying that they did actually achieve some amount of recycling all of their water like they do in Dune.
Yes, and there is a worm connection. So Dune, there were those giant worms. There are not giant worms in the Lunar Palace, and I'm going to stretch this to make the connection. But so they,
Okay.
One of the things that they did that was unique in this facility is that they took mealworms.
Oh, no. Are we about to eat worms?
We're about to eat worms. Yeah. So mealworms, they've got like an exoskeleton. So they're not like the worms in your garden. They like become beetles eventually. So they were feeding the mealworms on the waste, the plant waste. And so any part of the plant that wasn't digestible by the people was being turned into protein by the worms. And they created a meal plan. And the meal plan, they were able to grow 78% of the food by weight for this meal plan. And they included the worms for like a protein source. They did bring in things like different kinds of spices.
So you're saying they're using the mealworm to turn their plant waste into proteins, and then they're just directly eating the worms.
Yes, they would season them to make them more palatable, and they'd like fry them up and stuff. And so they had a couple different like recipes for preparing them. But yes, they were being incredibly efficient. And so while this makes a lot of Westerners like you and I not hungry, that's not true in other places in the world. Other places in the world are way more comfortable with eating insects than we are.
So you're saying these Chinese lunar palacenauts, or whatever you call these folks living there, were totally cool with this mealworm-based diet? They were like, yum, 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 put some soy sauce on it, and it's good?
There was a survey, and they rated the food favorably.
Wow.
And I mean, it could be because, like, a lot of the people who do analogs are people who are hoping that eventually their nation's space agency will send them to space. So maybe they were like, I am just such a good sport about everything. These mealworm tacos are just the best thing I've ever eaten. But they did report that they liked it.
Well, I have a science question for you, which is, I get how turning that plant matter into protein is useful, but can't we have another layer there? Like, can't you have something that we'd like to eat the mealworms, feed the mealworms to tilapia or something, have a fish farm, and then yay, you get to eat fish and the fish get to eat mealworms and everybody's happy. Do you lose a lot of efficiency there because you're like one step up the pyramid, or is that pretty efficient?
No, so this is a great question. Almost every plan that I read for settlements on Mars stopped at insects. So every time an animal eats another animal, you lose a lot of energy as it like converts what it ate into its own like muscle mass. A lot of that gets like lost as heat. So every time you add a step in the food chain, you're losing some of the calories that you could have produced.
So the way like it takes a huge amount of corn to support one cow. So you could replace a burger with like a huge amount of corn and eat a lot more food if you ate the corn directly.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think there's zero chance of us bringing cows to space in the near term because they like take up a lot of space and they fart a lot. You're going to need to like clean the air a lot. I wasn't even seeing chickens like listed as something that we could handle bringing with us to space right now. I mean, they make a huge mess and they're just not efficient.
Yeah.
I feel like eventually we're going to have that kind of stuff. So when I was talking to people about like what we're going to do. So one person pointed out that a lot of people who start as vegetarians or vegans, something like 84% of them can't stick with it, at least in Western diets. And I personally was a vegetarian for 2 years. And then I had a craving for Arby's beef and cheddar sandwiches that I just could not. And my husband is like that. So my husband's been a vegetarian for 25 years. And he's like, that is just so depressing that's what threw you off.
Is it a pregnancy related thing? Was it when you were pregnant?
No, wasn't pregnant. I was an undergrad.
You can't even blame it on the fetus?
No, maybe it was a hangover related thing. Anyway, Arby's, if you want to advertise on our show, we're open for that. But so they were trying to figure out like, well, what do you do if you know that the people in your facility are going to be sad on Mars if they're not eating meat? And so their proposals were, it's called cell-based meats, but the idea is you like take cells from cows, for example, and you feed them all the nutrients that those cells need to divide, and you grow them in essentially like a nutrient-filled vat. And then all you need is the cells. And so you don't need the whole animal. There's a lot of waste that way, and you don't have to worry about like humane treatment of those animals. And so you can still get the cells. That science is like, it's coming along pretty well, but like, when you bite into a steak or something, there's actually a lot of different cell types that are in that steak that contribute to the taste. And so I think trying to create a taste that is similar to actually eating cow, if you're someone who eats cow, is difficult, but maybe bringing these cell-based solutions with us will be a way to make it happen.
So you're saying we can't bring cows, but we could grow real meat sort of in the lab without having the whole animal just by growing the cells. I think I've seen people do that here. Like they even just banned that in Florida because people were worried about the effect on the industry or something.
Oh, that's a bummer. So like I'm excited about this idea because it seems less environmentally damaging and far more humane. So I'm excited about this technology personally, but I can see how, yes, lobbyists would not be happy to have cattle farms replaced by vats. And it does feel kind of dystopian.
It's sort of weird to eat vat-grown meat. But is it a lot more efficient, or does it require as much or just different resources like energy, etc.?
I am not an expert. My sense is that it is more efficient, but I don't know that for sure. It's possible that those factories have some complicated extra stuff that makes it less efficient.
Well, also just in terms of satisfying the Siberians, plant-based products that taste like meat have come a long way, right? A lot of people happily eat Impossible Burgers or Beyond Burgers or whatever.
Yeah. So my husband has tried a bunch of those kinds of like fake meat. I call them feet, and he doesn't appreciate that. But every once in a while he'll be like, "Oh man, try this hot dog. It tastes just like a hot dog." And I was like, "You haven't had meat in 25 years.
Exactly.
This does not taste like a hot dog." I like eating a lot of those foods, but in my head I never think, "Oh, I'm eating a hot dog." I think like, "Oh, I'm eating something different. This is like protein, something different." I don't classify it as meat in my head.
I was a vegetarian for a long time, and when I wasn't into the whole like meat replacement things. I was like, I'm a vegetarian. I'm into vegetables. I like vegetables. Let's make an eggplant. Let's roast a cauliflower. Like, let's eat the vegetables as vegetables and not force them to pretend to be meats. But it brings up an interesting question about these colonies. Like, you have to think not just about the initial colonists who just want to survive and will be able to choke down mealworms, but you want to build a self-sustaining population that like lives and has quality of life and joy and can have barbecues and whatever. And so you're right, you need to build up this technology to have like different kinds of foods and actually tasty foods, not just Shackleton style scraping by.
Yeah, but like even on the Shackleton expedition, they got to like kill penguins and have fresh meat.
All right, so we'll talk more about growing food on Mars and the science of that. But you were telling us about the lunar palace. Is that sort of the epitome of examples of growing things in a self-sustained colony on Earth?
Yeah, there's some companies who are trying to do stuff like this on the small scale, but in my mind, Lunar Palace is the facility that has managed to close the most things while doing the best recycling. But there's still a lot to learn. So like they had a run where it was 3 guys in there and the carbon dioxide levels were like fluctuating up and down. They were getting too high and then dropping down again. And so they took 2 of the bigger men out and replaced them with 2 smaller women. And then then the carbon dioxide levels were okay. And so like if that happened on Mars, like that's like that could have just been death for everybody. And so like right now we're at the stage where like we're swapping out sizes of humans to try to make things work. And so like the papers from the Lunar Palace group have like many pages of stoichiometric equations where they're trying to like figure out where all of the different like atoms and molecules went. There's still a lot we have to figure out. It's complicated.
So are we sending short people to Mars? Is that what we learned from this experiment?
So women are slightly more metabolically efficient, and on average, we're smaller. I've heard people argue that we should be sending just women to space. And then Zach likes to joke that we should send just jockeys to space. But it's worth considering that at least initially, your cargo will stretch for longer if the people are smaller.
What about amputees? We could have amputees in space, right? I mean, do you really need your legs anyway, right? Why support all of that leg tissue?
Yeah. I mean, Mars has partial gravity, and so there's still some benefit to having 2, but maybe it would be way more comfortable to have a prosthetic on Mars if there was less gravity pulling you down and creating like friction and pain at the interface between the prosthetic and the human body. So I don't really know the answer to your question.
Somebody's going to type amputees in space into Google and see some really, really weird stuff.
There's lots of weird space stuff. Yeah. Yeah, so Lunar Palace did well. There's ESA, the European Space Agency, is working on this system. Their acronym is Melissa, and I don't remember exactly what it stands for, but they are doing some experiments with algae. Again, algae's back, and they don't have humans in this system, but they're trying to figure out these equations for like, how many if you have like 100 cells of algae, how much carbon dioxide can that extract from the air and how much oxygen does it give you back? And does it depend on like what you're feeding them? And I'm just sort of making things up here, but like the point is they're trying to like start at the bottom and work out all of these little equations that you're going to want to have sort of figured out before you go to Mars. And so there's groups sort of tackling this from different angles, but I would say we're definitely not there yet. All right, well, we have been having too much fun. I've lost track of time, and it is time for us to take a little break, and we'll be back to talk more about food and space in just a second.
This is Jonathan Strickland from Tech Stuff. I've been getting into the holiday spirit by listening to a lot, and I mean a lot, of music on my Sonos Move 2 smart speaker. Now, the thing I love about the Move 2 is that I can pick it up off its cradle and just carry it with me room to room. So whether I'm decking the halls or I'm prepping hot apple cider or I'm just rocking out to my punk rock holiday music playlist in the living room, I can carry the tunes with me. But better than that, Sonos has engineered their products to deliver the highest quality sound you could ask for. So bringing the Move 2 into a room is like transforming that space into the perfect listening environment. Doesn't matter which room it is, and I can go hours without needing to put it back on the cradle to recharge it. Sonos has great gifts for everyone on your list. Visit sonos.com/techstuff to wrap up your holiday shopping. That's sonos.com/techstuff.
Homeowners, if you want to sell your house fast for all cash, stop what you are doing and listen to this, because Osborne Homes wants to buy your house right now.
I'm Alec from Osborne Homes, and we want to buy your house. Nobody buys more homes in California than Osborne, whether it's a total fixer-upper or imperfect plus.
Dare pizza/sustainability to learn more.
He looks is every night out.
And right, if we have a colony on Mars and it's totally dependent on Earth, and then Earth gets hit by an asteroid and it goes kaput, then the colony, if it's dependent on Earth, it's going to die out anyway. So what do we know about like making a colony actually independent so it can survive on its own?
Well, we know it's going to be even more complicated than doing it on Earth. So one of the reasons it's going to be complicated, so in our prior episode on why it's going to be so hard to work on the moon, we talked about how regolith is a huge pain in the rear end. So like the dust on the moon and Mars, it's jagged. You don't want to breathe it in. That jaggedness, we think, also makes it hard to grow plants in it. So there were these samples from the Apollo mission that folks tried to grow Arabidopsis thaliana in, and the plants grew, and it wasn't just lunar regolith. It was like lunar regolith plus fertilizer and nutrients and water. Like there was a lot of stuff done to like put lipstick on the pig that is lunar regolith.
But for people who haven't heard that episode or don't remember, you're saying basically there's no soil on the moon and no soil on Mars.
Yeah.
And that the dirt we grow our plants in has a lot of useful stuff, and that stuff is just missing from Mars and from the moon.
Yeah.
And what is Arabidopsis thaliana for those of us who are not biologists?
Arabidopsis thaliana is a plant. It's also known as thale cress, and it's a workhorse for biologists. So tons of experiments have been done on this kind of stuff. We know, like, if you grow it under soil with toxins in it, we know what genes turned on to tell us that the plant is stressed out, for example.
So it's like a well-understood plant here on Earth. Is it something that you could eat, or is it just like, hey, let's start with something we know how to grow?
I think it's, can you just start with something that we know how to grow? It's edible.
Edible. That's the way I like to describe my food source. Hey, what are we having for dinner tonight? It's edible. Don't worry.
Right. Yeah, I feel like
now I'm worried.
I feel like foragers like to tell you that food is edible a lot. I was like, I feel like what you're telling me is that artificial selection has made food good, but nature provides edible. Anyway, okay, it is edible.
So you're saying they tried growing this thing in lunar regolith.
Right. And they added all of this stuff to make it more like Earth soil, and the plants that grew showed signs of stress based on like their coloration and what their genes were doing. And one of the hypotheses was that all of those jagged lunar bits were like making it hard for the plant to put out roots, and maybe nutrients and water were leaking out because it kept getting poked. We don't really know, but the point is, even if you like supplement a lot, it's hard to grow in this stuff.
So you're saying they basically grew it in Earth soil, but with lunar regolith mixed in, and that was bad enough to make the plants stressed out.
Yeah, that's right. And Mars is going to be worse.
Now they're really testing the Mark Watney experiments, right? Basically, human poop plus regolith is not a great place for plants to grow.
Yeah, so they didn't actually use human poop. They used other fertilizers, but if they had wanted to be more realistic for Martian settlements, they could have used human poop.
So what do we need to add to regolith on Mars to actually make it soily enough that we could grow plants on it?
So you might need to supplement with nitrogen and potassium. So I think those things are both available on Mars, but maybe not in the form that plants use. So we might need to bring some of that with us. We almost certainly need to bring boron. And we understand Martian soil in some areas where it's been studied well, but I don't think we have a good handle on variability in what Martian soil is like. But some of the areas we've sampled have perchlorates, which are endocrine disrupting hormones.
That sounds bad.
Yeah, that's bad. Right. So for developing fetuses, so like if a pregnant woman was consuming food that had been grown in regolith with these perchlorates, the perchlorates get taken up in the food. We know that plants take it up, and it messes with nervous system development.
Ooh.
So bad for the baby. And it also messes with maternal metabolism. So bad for the mom.
So edible, but poisonous.
So when I talk to folks who are pro-space settlement, they always say, it's water soluble. You just got to like rinse it and it's going to go away. But then I talked to a friend of mine who's a geologist, and his lab works with perchlorates. And I was like, is it that easy? Do you just like rinse it and it goes away? And he's like, we work with that in fume hoods only. Like, it's not that easy. And it's a big deal if you miss it. And also, like, if you imagine, so Zach and I bought some farmland and we have like a garden. If someone was to say like, hey, it's cheap, it's got like these endocrine disrupting hormones in the soil, but like just rinse it first before you grow your plants, it's cool. Like, I wouldn't be like, oh, great, I'm fine with that.
And you have to rinse the plants, or you have to rinse the soil, you have to rinse everything.
Rinse the soil to get the perchlorates out. But then now you've got the perchlorates in the water. So basically, like, the more you talk about the regolith, like, it's jagged, it's filled with chemicals. I think it also has toxic amounts of aluminum. Maybe that's on the moon. But like, it's going to need to get cleaned up so it's not toxic first. So a lot of folks say, like, look, this is all too much work. Let's just do hydroponics. And so the idea with hydroponics is you plant the plants directly into water, like you give them something to hold on to, but they're just in water. And into that water, you add nutrients and everything else that they need. And then that way you don't need the soil at all.
Everybody who like carved an apple before listening to this episode knows what you're talking about when it comes to hydroponics.
I don't understand. I have apple trees growing in my
That was
yard.
a bong reference.
Oh, I thought this was a family-friendly show.
That's why I was making a subtle reference.
Oh, well,
rather than using
it goes right over
too
my
much,
head.
I guess.
Right over my head.
Right.
Can't be too subtle with Kelly on the show.
Well, that tells me something about your college experience. First, I want to go back to something you said about importing this stuff. Like you said, bringing nitrogen and boron. I've heard of nitrogen as something we need for plants to grow, but what is boron and why do we need it for plants?
Well, I'm not a botanist, so I'm not 100% sure. But so, like, just, our bodies, we're mostly made out of what? Schnapps, I think. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, sulfur. Those are the main things that are in our body. But we also need other things in, like, trace amounts. And so something that plants need some of, but not loads of, includes boron. And I think that's something that we just haven't found a lot of on Mars. So it's something we'd need to bring with us. The list of things that you need to bring for the moon is much longer. And, Mars has things like there's carbon in the atmosphere in the form of carbon dioxide. And so you can get that carbon, whereas the moon has very little carbon and it's hard to acquire. So like Mars has a lot of good stuff, but you're still going to need to bring some and recycle others.
So we're going to need to pull some of the things we want out of the Martian environment and bring a bunch of stuff in order to create an environment where plants can be healthy and grow in a way that they produce food we want to like feed our children.
Yeah, exactly. And the stuff that you pull out of the Martian environment, it's probably going to be a pain in the rear end to pull it out. So like previously we were talking about how regolith is super jagged and how that makes it hard to run equipment because it's abrasive and it clogs up the equipment and wears it down pretty quickly. And so anytime you're like extracting something from the regolith, for example, you're going to want to recycle it because it's probably easier to recycle it than it is to extract it initially. And so these recycled systems are going to be super important.
And all of these things sound like they're going to be very energy intensive. Like you're extracting things from Mars and you're separating them and doing all these complicated processes on them. I guess this is going to all run on solar power?
Yeah, so solar panels on Mars, we use them for our rovers, for example. And so it's like a proven technology, but that 1% atmosphere that Mars has, as we mentioned, is enough to support dust storms that can encircle the whole planet for like weeks at a time sometimes. So they can last for a long time. They're not super predictable. And you can have battery packs to help you get through those periods. But most of the folks that I talked to say we're going to need to bring portable nuclear reactors with us as well and plant them sort of far away from our habitat so they're not, irradiating the crew members. So we're probably going to be relying on both of those. You might be able to get a little geothermal energy from Mars, but that's like a complicated engineering project that I don't think we'll be ready to tackle for a while. And there's no flowing water, so hydropower's out. And unless there's big surprises on Mars, there's not going to be any fossil fuels. So probably it's going to be solar and nuclear.
We've talked before about nuclear power in terms of space flight. And one of the big questions is like, how do you safely get the nuclear materials up there? Because we mine them here on Earth and then we're going to send them to Mars or send them to the moon. Something we haven't talked about, and I'm wondering if you know anything about it, is extracting nuclear materials on Mars. Like Mars has uranium, right? Why not send the technology to Mars to extract uranium from Martian soil itself? Because then we don't have to launch uranium in the Earth's atmosphere.
So I believe that those materials are available on Mars, but just like on Earth, it's not just a matter of acquiring those materials. So for example, if you're using plutonium to power your power plant, you need to like centrifuge it to get certain kinds of plutonium, and it requires like massive facilities to do that. And so I think, eventually if Mars is going to be self-sustaining, they will need to collect and process their own nuclear fuel for their power plants. But I think we're not going to start that way, probably.
All these conversations have like two modes. Like, how do you get there and get started? And then how do you become self-sufficient? And it's incredible, like the list of things you're going to need to run a society, to grow all this food and to supply the power, and then all the people to run these facilities, and then the schools to teach those people's children, and then the factory to make the pencils for those children to do their homework. And it's just like the tendrils of the complexity of the society are incredible.
Our global supply chains are so incredible. Like, there's so much that we benefit from. We tried to find numbers on how many people you would need to create a self-sustaining society. So, like, how many people would need to be there before the Earth could explode and Mars could survive without us? And I think we don't really know the answer to that. But, like, I think Cuba and North Korea, which are countries that maybe get the closest to running without interacting with other countries, they've got, like, 30 million? Like, probably tens of millions, but neither one of those countries are places where most of us would be like, totally, I want to live there, right? So they're like, and I think a lot of them would rather not be so closed, or, maybe not the leaders in those countries, but the average citizen. So it's going to take a lot. I've seen a lot of estimates, but I think if you're going to live well, like, there's something like 100,000 different kinds of medical specialists. You don't necessarily need all of them, but I'm glad they all exist and that they're available to me on this planet. So it's going to take, I think, generations before Mars is completely self-sustaining.
And do you think that answer changes if we only send jockeys to Mars? Like, can we get there faster with just jockeys? Is it like a volume of humanity question or like a number of heads?
I think it's numbers of heads and hands, but
okay.
I haven't done all the equations, so...
You didn't say feet, so then like my amputee-only colony on Mars, maybe that could succeed.
Yeah.
But speaking of bringing life to Mars, you were talking about importing all these materials to grow food on Mars. I was wondering about the little critters. Like, our life here on Earth also relies on microorganisms in the soil. Are we bringing sterile stuff to Mars to grow, or are we bringing like Earth-based microorganisms for our farms on Mars?
Yeah, so this is tough. So for space stuff, you try to bring as few microbes as possible, typically, but we're going to need to bring those microbes with us because bacteria and fungi are like very important collaborators with the plants that we like to eat. So they need to come, and you probably can speak to this better because your wife works on questions like this. But yeah, those are going to have to come. But so then the hard thing is just bringing the organisms that you want and keeping out the organisms you don't want. So at the introduction, we talked about how Biosphere 2 had problems with plant pests and pathogens that they clearly had not planned to bring with them, but they got in. And Biosphere 2 also had scorpions that got in that they didn't mean to have in there. And they're the only lethal scorpions in the United States. And they managed to get in.
Wow. Do they make good tacos? I bet those are pretty spicy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They did not try eating them in Biosphere 2. They were not hungry enough. 18% body mass loss was not enough to get them to eat the scorpions.
At some point, you're eating scorpion tacos, but I guess they weren't there yet.
No, maybe they'll get there.
All right. It's fascinating, though, how we have these competing interests. Like, on one hand, as you said, you don't want to bring microbes to Mars because you still want to know the answer to the question, like, are there already microbes on Mars that either grew independently or through some sort of like panspermian thing got to Mars from Earth, or maybe originally evolved on Mars and then got knocked off the planet and landed here on Earth and seeded life on Earth? Like, are we space cousins with the Martians? So you're right, we want to answer those questions, which means we shouldn't be bringing those microbes. On the other hand, we can't really go to Mars long term without bringing microbes. And so do we try to like set up some sterile barrier? I mean, that whole thing seems totally impractical. Or do we just have to wait until we've answered the science question before we can begin colonizing?
Well, I think have to wait is a tough way to put it. Like, you don't have to wait for anything. Should you wait? I would like to see us have the answer to that question before humans go there. Because even if you're not like, so the first mission to Mars is probably not going to be trying to like grow their own food. They're probably going to pack stuff that's shelf stable. But they're humans, so they're going to come with their microbiome, and like we're lousy with microbes. And so I think we'll contaminate the surface, just by like touching our spacesuits before we put them on for EVAs. So I think before humans go at all, if that's a question that we think is important to answer, we should probably try to answer it with the machines we send out there, which probably also bring some microbes, but hopefully fewer.
Wow, people are planning to visit Mars, in the next decade or so. I can't imagine we're going to have an definitive answer to the question about life on Mars in that decade. So most likely we're going to spoil Mars for this question scientifically.
Musk has just announced that in 2028, he's going to send people to Mars. I wouldn't hold my breath. I don't think that's going to happen that fast unless so the United States government, I guess, would probably have to say, no, you can't do that until we have the answer to this question. Because I don't know who else would have the power to stop him.
Does the U.S. government have the power to stop him?
So according to the Outer Space Treaty of 1967, some country is responsible for what Musk does out there. So Musk could decide, well, I'm not going to launch from the US, I'm going to launch from some other country, and then that country becomes responsible. But given his current infrastructure and his current nationality, he would probably be the United States' responsibility. So they're the ones who would be issuing the launch license. So they're the ones who would have to put their stamp on the mission plan. So I mean, the international community could make a fuss, and the U.S. could feel pressured, but I'm not seeing that happening.
Another possibility, I suppose, is that we try to build colonies on Mars that are more separate from what's going on the surface. You and I talked about living underground on the moon. What about living underground on Mars? Also as a way to protect yourself from all the cosmic radiation, the death from the Martian skies.
Yeah, so we will probably live underground on Mars as well. So Mars, the 1% at...
Oh, hey, what's up? Hello. Yeah, thanks for checking out the art. Glad you like it.
So you're going to get exposed to space radiation. So most of the proposals I've seen do involve habitats either in lava tubes or just buried underneath regolith. So first I'll say that burying yourself underground doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to contaminate the Martian surface, I think, because you're probably still going to be going on some EVAs.
And also it could be that there are microbes under the ground, right?
Yeah, right. And that might be the place we're most likely to find them because they're not exposed to, the radiation from space. Maybe the most likely place we are to find these microbes could be in lava tubes or caves underground. But this also poses problems related to growing plants because you're not going to get any sunlight. And already you were getting less sunlight than you would on Earth because Mars is farther from the sun, which is also going to be a problem for your solar panels. But now you're also underground. So you're going to need to be using a lot of energy to create artificial lights, or you're going to have to pipe the sunlight in somehow. So it's going to be complicated. But yeah, I don't think being underground necessarily protects the microbes, but it adds some complications when it comes to growing plants.
Well, what about future technology? All this stuff assumes we're going to be growing Earth-like plants and bringing Earth-like
Whoops,
chickens.
I meant Helio.
What if we genetically engineered, chickens that were good at growing on Mars, or plants that were good in that environment, or loved Martian regolith and could filter out these toxins? Is that just a pipe dream? Should I expect Andy Weir to write a novel about that next?
Well, I'll read anything Andy Weir writes, but so I hear a lot of folks pushing genetic engineering, and often they're talking about genetic engineering humans, which I think has its whole other range of ethical questions that maybe we don't want to dive into today. But genetic engineering can improve crops in some ways, but I think there are a lot of problems that are really complicated, and we don't understand which genes you would need to tinker with in which way to solve those problems yet. So I think that eventually it could help us with a variety of problems, maybe genes for radiation resistance or something like that. I don't know. Although if you're underground, that'll be less of a problem. But I would be surprised if right now we knew what kind of genes we needed to tinker with in a way that would actually be effective. And I know there's people who disagree with me, so I guess we'll have to see.
Well, I guess we'll just have to see which plants and which people survive in that Martian colony. And that's just sort of a form of genetic engineering, right?
That is a form of natural selection. So everyone should purchase a city on Mars and hear all about my opinions on this. But my opinion is that we need a lot more research ahead of time so that we're not sending people out there and saying all right, we're going to see what happens. Natural selection is going to select the best of you. And we'll see what happens there. I think there's a lot of engineering solutions to this stuff, burying your habitat under regolith probably helps. There might be certain material science problems that could be solved for types of habitats that do better at absorbing radiation. There's a lot of work that can get done ahead of time to figure out the equations for, how much human poop do you need to fertilize your plants, take up this much carbon dioxide to make this much oxygen. There's a lot of work that can be done ahead of time so that you can reduce the number of people who need to die. And I think we need to do that stuff first so that we're not relying on natural selection to hone the people for space.
So you're saying we shouldn't just send a bunch of people up there and see who lives and see who dies. We should prepare for that and try to minimize the number of deaths.
Right. Or we should send delicious people so that everybody can at least have some good meals while the end closes in.
Well, I want all those jockeys to have nice, tasty meals from all their dead co-colonists.
All right, well, we have come full circle to the forbidden meal. So I think that's probably good for this week. And I'm going to probably not eat for a few hours because I think you've put me off of food, but I will enjoy the wonderful variety of foods that are available on Earth when I'm prepared to eat again.
Well, I hope at least that this episode was food for thought, even if it didn't inspire an appetite in anybody.
Daniel and Kelly's Extraordinary Universe is produced by iHeartRadio. We would love to hear from you.
We really would. We want to know what questions you have about this extraordinary universe.
We want to know your thoughts on recent shows, suggestions for future shows. If you contact us, we will get back to you.
We really mean it. We answer every message. Email us at questions@danielandkelly.org.
Or you can find us on social media. We have accounts on X, Instagram, Blue Sky, and on all of those platforms you can find us at D&K Universe.
Don't be shy. Write to us. When you pop a piece of cheese into your mouth, you're probably not thinking about the environmental impact, but the people in the dairy industry are. That's why they're working hard every day to find new ways to reduce waste, conserve natural resources, and drive down greenhouse gas emissions. How is U.S. dairy tackling greenhouse gases? Many farms use anaerobic digesters to turn the methane from manure into renewable energy that can power farms, towns, and electric cars. Visit usdairy.com/sustainability to learn more.
I've been getting into the holiday spirit by listening to my favorite seasonal punk rock songs on a Sonos Move 2 speaker. It's a smart speaker, and that's cool, but my favorite thing about it is that I could just lift it up off its charging cradle and take it anywhere in my house, and it'll fill whatever room I'm in with sound. So whether I'm in the kitchen, or the living room, or my office, I can take the tunes with me and enjoy the highest quality sound I could ask for. Sonos has great gifts for everyone on your list. Visit sonos.com/techstuff to wrap up your holiday shopping. That's sonos.com/tech stuff.
Hey, it's Sisney for Albertsons, Vons, and Pavilions. Well, now through November 30th, stock up on all things baby. Spend $25 on select baby items and save $5. Shop in-store or online for participating items like Huggies Natural Baby Wipes, Goodnight's Youth Pants, Happy Baby Food Pouch, Love's Leak Protection Diapers, and Johnson's Baby Shampoo, and save $5 when you spend $25 or more. Offer ends November 30th. Promotions may vary. Restrictions apply. Visit Albertsons, Vons, or Pavilions.com for more details.
Hey there, we're Wistia, the video platform built for business. With Wistia, you can
shoot it, cut it, stream it, brand it, edit, host it, share it out, and then comment, find it, clip it, groove it, fix it, sync it, tell your boss. You can do everything that you want to. You can do it right here.
Learn more at wistia.com/.
You fall, I'll catch you. So I've been thinking about something. Lately I've been alive. Cause I found my reason in nothing. So I won't close my eyes. Cause I don't wanna miss 1 second. And I don't wanna feel so cold. And I don't wanna be so sad that we are who we are. Cause we had no control. But only by the night will we ever make headlines. Will we ever make things right when we've only ourselves to blame? When we've only ourselves to blame. So I won't sleep no more. No, I won't sleep no more. I won't sleep like I could always figure it out and never have to abandon what's in front of me. Dream no more. So get this doubt out of my head. It's only real if you let it. And I've been letting go of my ghosts. I'll never let them catch me no more. These words are all I have, so I'll just keep dreaming out loud. And if I just keep talking, maybe I'll figure all of this out. But only by then will we ever make headlines? Will we ever make things right when we've only ourselves to blame? And we've only ourselves to blame. So I won't sleep no more. No, I won't sleep no more. No, I won't sleep. I always thought that there'd be more than just wishing my life away. Like I could always figure it out and never have to abandon what's in front of me. Dream no more. My mind gets lost and I get caught up in everything I never thought of. I try to bring myself back to life, but I'm breaking through to the other side. I can see a light shining in my eyes, swirls of pink and white, perfectly collide. Sparks start to ignite, and now it is the time for me to leave here to another universe. It's everything is temporary. Lately, that's how I've been feeling. Everything feels so congested. Maybe I should start the My soul's on fire, you lit the flame. It's burning down everything. I tried to bring myself back to life, but I'm breaking through to the other side. I can see a light shining in my eyes, swirls of pink and white, perfectly collide. Sparks start to ignite, and now it is the time for me to leave here to another sideways. I'm in an unknown place, lost between time and space, traversing the astral plane, separated from everything, suspended in disbelief, and all of the things I'm seeing, I don't know what they mean. Time moves real slow. I've got these angels on my back saying it's time to dread I let run through my head. The truth is that you hurt me for so long, and here's my celebration song. I know that years from now, when our final flame runs out, I'll be a grain of sand
dance. I said dance, gotta dance. It's your body, fuck the man. Dance, gotta dance. It's hypnotic, it's a trance. I said dance, gotta dance. It's your body, fuck the man. Dance, gotta dance. It's hypnotic, it's a trance. I said dance, gotta dance. It's your body, fuck the man. To take my love away. When I come back around, will I know what to say? Said you won't forget my name. Not today, not tomorrow. Kinda strange, feeling sorrow. Like I changed, you could borrow. When I come back around, will I know what to say? Not today, maybe tomorrow. Open up the door, can you open up the door? I know you said before you can't cope with anymore. You told me it was war, said you'd show me what's in store. I hope it's not for sure. Can you open up the door? Did you take my love So you seated at the counter when I looked away. Saw you turn around, but it wasn't your face. Said I need to be alone now, I'm taking a break. How come when I returned you were gone away?
from it, 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 from it. From it. From it. Where we're going, you won't need to end. No looking back from it on it. Let's move you on to better things, 'cause you deserve more than you think. Forget everything you told. There's greener grass and denser gold. And maybe I should bite my tongue. No, but I can't seem to find from it. From it. From it. From it. From it. From it. Fading fire, I see the sky begin to fall apart. I know you're tired, but you can't keep running. Terrified, I won't see you on the other side. The cancer couldn't stop, now you're buried in a box, but you can't keep running. I wanna know the way it feels. You cheated death, but now it's real. When your eyes roll back and the world turns black, can heaven fall into my lonely earth? 'Cause hell is when I know you won't return. Can heaven fall to earth? I wanna feel it come down. Neon grave, illuminate the life you took away. Your heart expired, and now the hurt keeps coming. Silver lines, I don't think that I will ever find how to make it right when you're feeling every night. Yeah, the hurt keeps coming. I wanna know the way it feels. You cheated death, but now it's real. When your eyes roll back and the world turns black, can heaven fall into my lonely earth? 'Cause hell is when I know you won't return. Can heaven fall to earth? I wanna feel it come down. I wanna know, how does it feel when your eyes roll back? And I wanna know, will we meet again when the world turns black? Can heaven fall into my lonely earth? 'Cause hell is when I know you won't return. Can heaven fall to earth? I wanna feel
Hey, what's up, Frederick?
This time won't blame myself. It's been a long time coming, been a long time coming. She said, drink that love, don't demand it, 'cause baby I can't stand it when you look so pathetic. I can't stop with the rhythm of it. Drink that love, it's like a habit, feeling like a savage. You know I gotta have it, I gotta have it all. I wish I didn't miss this. I gotta have it all. They call me hedonistic. Can't stop with the rhythm, gotta have it all. I make them kiss their sisters. I gotta have it all. Need lenses black eyes through my head. She said, drink that love, don't demand it, 'cause baby I can't stand it when you look so pathetic. I can't stop with the rhythm of it. Drink that love, it's like a habit, feeling like a savage. You know I gotta have it, I gotta have it all. You wanna know so bad. You wanna know so bad. Follow me, they're gonna follow, 'cause I'm on the inside and they're on the outside waiting. This time I know myself, it's been a long time coming, been a long time coming. Just one kiss is enough to get me drunk right from your lips. I would swim through the deepest oceans just to hear your name. I thought I knew right from wrong, but the blood upon these edges proved me wrong. My mistakes can't be covered. You should get over baby. Do what I should, baby. Point, point, baby. Do what I could, baby. Point, point, baby. Do what I should, baby. Point, point, baby. Do what I could, baby. Point, 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 baby. Do what I should, baby. Point, baby. Do what I could, baby. Point, 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 baby. Do what I should, baby. Point, point, baby. Do what I could. I ain't never represent, baby. Ain't do no wrong. I can clean up good for you. No, I know right from wrong. 'Cause I wanna make it. Missing in action left me in LA. With her it's magic till she runs away. Hard as I try, I've gotten really good at saying goodbye to Mrs. Hollywood. She don't know what she does, the movies aren't enough, 'cause they don't make them about us. No. I'm just dancing with luck, or has she moved out of love? Maybe I'm being too much. She's always MIA, way out in California. What can I say? She's got a talent for it. Still wish she'd stay, guess I'll be waiting for her. Standing in line for Mrs. Hollywood. Finally felt like I was number one. 2 days together, now she's in my life. And I'm driving the highway up to Malibu, but her seat is empty and she stole the mood. She don't know what she does, the movies aren't enough, 'cause they don't make them about us. I'm just dancing with luck, or has she moved out of love? Maybe I'm being too much. She's always MIA, way out in California. What can I say? She's got a talent for it. Still wish she'd stay, guess I'll be waiting for her. Standing in line for Mrs. Hollywood. California. What can I say? She's got a talent for it. Still wish she'd stay, guess I'll be waiting for her. Standing in line for Mrs. Hollywood.
I'm not something you can tame that easy, tame that easy. You don't know shit about the pain I feel it, pain I feel it. Yeah, decided like out of the night, to the night, to the night, to the night. Somebody you don't recognize, 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 recognize. Don't tell me that you know me, know me. Say what I feel, what I do, what I want. Quit acting like you own me, own me. Saying that I'm yours to control, but I'm not. You're not enough. I take control. You're not enough.
Bodies like cleaves, both of us high, words come out slow. You melt into me like how autumn leaves get pushed down by snow. Our bodies leave, both of us high, words come out slow. You melt into me like how autumn leaves get pushed down. I wanna waste away with you. Make myself numb till all I can feel is you. All I wanna feel is you. Bodies like cleaves, both of us high, words come out slow. You melt into me like how autumn leaves get pushed down by snow. Our bodies leave, both of us high, words come out slow. You melt into me like how autumn leaves get pushed down. Terrified with the bets I made. You stay quiet, so I figure I'll wait. Under the hollow street lights, and drugs coursing through our eyes. Can't trust myself to realize we're home. Bodies like cleaves, both of us high, words come out slow. You melt into me like how autumn leaves get pushed down by snow. Our bodies leave, both of us high, words come out slow. You melt into me like how autumn leaves get pushed down by snow. You and I would win the lottery. You and if it's spoken from your eyes, but the words are buried still, and it's a quiet ride home. And it's spoken from your eyes, but the words are buried still, then it's a quiet ride home. Bodies like cleaves, both of us high, words come out slow. You melt into me like how autumn leaves get pushed down by snow. Our bodies leave, both of us high, words come out slow. You melt into me like how autumn leaves get pushed down by snow. You and I would win the lottery. You and I would win the lottery. You and I would win the lottery. You table, pretend I'm made of money. I'll be a sugar daddy. Let's make a fool of ourselves and crash a party. Act like we own the place. Act like we own the place. Swinging back and forth. All my faults are peeking past the surface. Is it worth it to fall back down? Please make way for the special adventure. Armor, mental protection. If reality is raging harder. Hello, Mr. Mind. Hello, medicine. I believe denial makes me hella intelligent. Why am I too caught up in the race with time? It's getting hard to take it in. We're trying hard to be the first in line. Just wanna be a kid again. A kid again. Sick of being in my head and thinking about my fate and worry about my health. Wanna waste away my days with a pretty young thing and blow through all my wealth. Just for the table, pretend I'm made of money. I'll be a sugar daddy. Let's make a fool of ourselves and crash a party. Act like we own the place. Act like we own the place. Killing all the flies. I'm not done swinging back and forth yet. Forgive me for what I will do. Please make way for the special adventure. Armor, mental protection. If reality is raging harder. Hello, Mr. Mind. Hello, medicine. I believe denial makes me hella intelligent. I know we trust each other. Don't feel the limits. We all need partners for the pain of existence. My bedroom chemistry said, engine upon your Pinterest. Let's see relations to a few common interests. On my way to the top of the centipede. Some of the sparks is prescribing me symmetry. Every vote, bitch, and decision was orchestrated. Drafted up, and the list will call the action complacent. Oh, we can all play. Oh, we can all play. I'm checking on who you're seeing. New message coming through, I'm reading. Want none of your games. Want none of your drinks you're stealing. Want none of your games. Telling me you're meeting downtown with your other man. But I won't even raise an eyebrow. Say I wish you all the luck. So you're creeping round town, but I keep my mouth shut. 1, 2 time, 3 time, I can't wait no more. Your fingers through my hair, it's on my mind. I know it's been a minute since you walked right through that door, but I still think about you all the time. I don't know how I'm gonna make it out. I don't know now. You got me saying, fuck, I'm lonely, I'm lonely, I'm lonely as fuck. Come on me, come on me, come on me. It's been me, myself, and why did you go, did you go? I'm lonely, I'm lonely, I'm lonely, lonely. Yeah, I still watch the shows you show me. I still drink alone. But these days it tastes more bitter than sweet. And all my friends are way too drunk to save me from my phone. So sorry if I say something I mean. I don't know how I'm gonna make it out. I don't know now. You got me saying, I'm lonely, I'm lonely, I'm lonely as fuck. Come on me, come on me, come on me. It's been me, myself, and why did you go, did you go? I'm lonely, I'm lonely, I'm lonely, lonely. I miss those nights when you would come over, spend all night just trying to get closer. Now it's June and now it's October. I don't wanna get over. I miss those nights when you would come over, spend all night just trying to get closer. Now it's June and now it's October. I don't wanna get over you. Wanna get over you. I'm lonely, I'm lonely, I'm lonely as fuck. Come on me, come on me, come on me. It's been me, myself, and why did you go, did you go? I'm lonely, I'm lonely, I'm lonely, lonely. Miss those nights when you would come over, spend all night just trying to get closer. Now it's June, now it's October. I don't wanna get over you. Miss those nights when you would come over, spend all night just trying to get closer. Now it's June, now it's October. I don't wanna get over you. Don't test me why your heart screams every night. 'Cause we're not burning it bright into like misery. You remember we were together, you and I in When I look, it's so sad. Oh, but I'm sick of doing this. Enough is not enough. It's never you who's giving in. Oh, I'm losing what I'm doing, and I don't think I like living this way. I'm new here, but I'm through here, and the part of me that loved it went away. Tell me it's enough, I'm thinking that it's enough, and I don't know what else I can do. And I could give it up, I'm thinking of giving up, but I feel like I want it from you. Tell me it's enough, I'm thinking that it's enough, and I don't know what else I can do. And I could give it up, I'm thinking of giving up, but I feel like I want it from you. I can't get started from the part where I left off yesterday. Should have spent my time a little wiser. I sat alone, guilty as sin, waiting for words to come from out of my head, still making sense to anyone. I can't wait to understand the reason I brand new face in a whole new space. I barely recognized you. And the character see I was sad to see, but somehow excites you. Glaring and scheming forms of plan. Execute past, present, and pan. From left to right and then right to left and then left to right and then back again. Time is a constant feud with confident love and feeling loneliness. Though I'm loving you to prove, but borrowed happiness is to distress. Even if your love gets better, will it die? Even if your love gets better, will it die? Or will it last? Or will it last? Or will it last? Time is our constant feud with comfort, love, and feeling loneliness. Though I thought that you'd approve, but borrowed happiness turns to distress. Time is our constant feud with comfort, love, and feeling loneliness. Though I thought that you'd approve, but borrowed happiness turns to distress. Time is our constant feud with comfort, love, and feeling loneliness. What will you do on the weekends when your best friends become your dead friends? From all the sugar and all the sweetness, this little sweet tooth, it is your weakness. They've got American candy. For the American kids. But this American candy, it'll rot your teeth. Try to think back to a time when you loved what you loved because you loved it. Before the sugar and all the sweetness filled up your lungs, now it's all you breathe in. They've got American candy. For the American kids. And even if you wanted to, you couldn't stop. It's just so sweet. But this American candy, oh, it'll rot your teeth. Your teeth, your teeth, your. Sometimes I feel as though I'm going mad when I get a touch of saccharin on my lips. I hate the taste in my tongue, too damn sweet. I don't fancy American candy. American candy. They've got American candy. For the American kids. And even if you wanted to, you couldn't stop. It's just so sweet. But this American candy, oh, it'll rot your teeth until I said I needed you, but baby, that was never true. And it's not personal, it's everything you put me through. I was so tangled, but I'm finding my way out of the puzzle. And baby, maybe you're a little tangled too. 'Cause you've been running around wherever, and always changing with the weather. I'm thinking maybe I'm a sucker for that. You know, I thought that I was clever, but now I'm piecing it together. I'm thinking maybe I'm a sucker for that. You're like a fairy tale, hiding in your pretty shell. But now your teeth are showing through, and little red is on to you. I was so tangled, but I'm finding my way out of the puzzle. And baby, maybe you're a little tangled too. 'Cause you've been running around wherever, and always changing with the weather. I'm thinking maybe I'm a sucker for that. You know, I thought that I was clever, but now I'm piecing it together. I'm thinking maybe I'm a sucker for that. I'm walking away, never to return back. So, Jack, what do you say? Wait, the table's turning today. Baby, you should know this fable's ending, and I'd like to say I miss you, but I'm living happy ever after. 'Cause you've been running around wherever, and always changing with the weather. I'm thinking maybe I'm a sucker for that. You know, I thought that I was clever, but now I'm piecing it together. I'm thinking maybe I'm a sucker for that.
That could be sick.
We're tearing it all down. The walls that you've built, prepare for the